The SAT essay is optional. You let the test administrators know that you plan to write the essay when you register for the exam. It will add an extra 50 minutes to the end of your exam, but I always recommend that you do optional essays on standardized exams. And if you're watching this video, you probably are. I make that recommendation for several reasons. Number one, it gives you a competitive advantage. Let's say you and another test taker get the same score on the multiple choice part, but you get a better score on the essay. You look better. Number two, it's a controlled variable. You don't always know what's coming on the multiple choice part, but you kind of do know what's coming on the essay, and it's just easier to give a controlled response in writing. Number three, the foundations of all Western education are reading and writing. No matter how STEM your chosen field of study or career is, if you study it, you're going to have to read and write a lot. So the sooner you get into the habit of writing, the better. And finally, anytime you choose to do something that you don't necessarily have to do, you demonstrate that you are unafraid to take risk and willing to go above and beyond. The SAT essay is kind of the opposite of the ACT essay in that whereas the ACT essay is very critical, the SAT essay is very laudatory. It's not an argumentative essay, it's an analytical essay, but you still need to be familiar with the basic concepts of argumentative essay writing in order to be able to write it. So if you feel rusty, like you need to brush up on those, I include a link to that information in the description. Let's talk about the prompt for this essay. At the top and bottom of the prompt, you see the directions that you don't necessarily need to waste time reading because they're always the same. In between, you see a text. It's an article, an op-ed, opinion editorial from a periodical, newspaper, or magazine, or it could be a politician's speech. In any case, the author has an opinion. You don't. In a traditional argumentative essay, you take a position and then defend it. In this essay, your only position is that the author did a good job. The directions tell you that it's not your job to agree or disagree with the author, but instead simply to describe how he did what he did. I know I said that you don't necessarily need to read the directions because your only takeaway is from the directions at the bottom, in which you are explicitly told exactly what the author's opinion is, which will be useful when it comes time to write the essay. In the directions at the top of the prompt, you see 3 bullets. Those are the writing techniques the author used to support his opinion. They are also your 3 body paragraphs and what you look for as you read. The first item is called evidence. Evidence is just facts, data, statistics. It could be research results. Evidence is the easiest thing to find. Just look for numbers. The second item is called reasoning. Reasoning is where your knowledge of argumentative essay writing comes in and the most difficult thing to find. Reasoning is the author's supporting points or controlling ideas. If you're not familiar with supporting points, it's time to review argumentative essay writing. Supporting points answer the question, why? It's okay to have any opinion you want, but you have to be able to support that opinion. Why does the author hold the opinion that he holds? He won't tell you directly, so you have to infer what his supporting points are. The final item in the list is called stylistic or persuasive elements. In other words, literary devices or appeals. If you've ever done literary analysis, you know that there are so many literary devices, it's impossible to know all of them. And you don't have to. I've compiled a short list of what I feel are the most commonly used literary devices, and I include a link to that information in the description as well. Because this is most of the time journalistic writing, not poetry, it's rare to find literary devices like simile or metaphor. Instead, more commonly, I think you'll find diction, which is just word choice. Why does the author use this word and not another word? Because English has historically had so many different influences, it now has a very large vocabulary with a lot of synonyms, but those synonyms don't all have the same tone. So you can examine the author's tone by examining his choice of words. Instead of literary devices, I think more commonly you'll find the appeals, ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos, like the word ethics, is an appeal to the reader's morality, his sense of right and wrong. It's a guilt trip. Pathos comes from the word for feeling or emotion. It's an appeal to the reader's emotions, like tugging on the heartstrings. And I think you'll find a lot of logos, like the word logic. It's an appeal to the reader's intellect. And this includes an appeal to authority, where the author references a famous person or just someone who's very knowledgeable about the subject, like a professor, or establishes himself as an authority on a subject by referencing his own education and or experience. So you want to look for 3 of each, 3 pieces of evidence, 3 pieces of reasoning, and 3 stylistic or persuasive elements for your 3 body paragraphs, or 3-3-3, and those don't necessarily have to have anything to do with one another. A lot of people like to connect the evidence and the stylistic or persuasive elements to the supporting points in the reasoning, but I think that's too much work. Why would you do that to yourself? Go easy on yourself. Just look for 3 of each, and when you find 3 of each, go with it and you're ready to write. The outline for this essay is the classic traditional 5-paragraph structure of introduction and conclusion with 3 body paragraphs sandwiched in between. In the introduction, because I would like each paragraph to have at least 3 sentences, I think you can go ahead and give a hook. A hook is an element of argumentative essay writing that does what it says it does. It hooks the reader's attention and makes the reader want to continue reading your essay. A hook is something interesting or creative, just food for thought on the theme of the essay. A theme is 1 or 2 words. To identify the theme, ask yourself, if you wrote the author's text in a class, what would the name of that class be? That's the theme. Meditate on the theme a little bit and write the first thing that comes to mind. A hook, however, does not take a position. After the hook, you can write what's called connecting information because it connects the hook to the thesis statement. Connecting information also does not take a position. It just lets the reader know that there is some kind of debate going on here. If there is a topic on which someone can form an opinion, that means that there is room for disagreement. So further introduce the topic with the connecting information. The third and final sentence of the introduction is always the thesis statement, and a thesis statement is always 2 things. It's always main idea plus supporting points. Your main idea and your supporting points are always the same. The main idea is that the author did a good job, and the supporting points are evidence, reasoning, and stylistic or persuasive elements. If you want to write a direct thesis statement, and I prefer that you do, you summarize in the thesis statement the supporting points that you will elaborate later in the body paragraphs, which should be easy to do because, again, the supporting points are always the same. The prompt tells you the author's name, the title of the text, and the author's position, and you want to include all of that information in the thesis statement. So the thesis statement, like most thesis statements, can get quite long. In other words, something like, in his article entitled blah, 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 author X builds a compelling argument that his position, comma, using evidence, reasoning, and stylistic or persuasive elements. In the body paragraphs, you want to state what you found, evidence, reasoning, or stylistic and persuasive elements, and how that thing strengthens the author's argument. So you may need 2 sentences for each thing that you found. That information can be framed between a topic sentence and a concluding sentence. A topic sentence, like a thesis statement, is always 2 things. It's always main idea plus the supporting point for that body paragraph. The main idea, again, is the main idea of the whole essay. The author did a good job, and the supporting point will be evidence, reasoning, or stylistic or persuasive elements. And because I don't like to cut body paragraphs abruptly after giving an example, you can give a concluding sentence in which you return to general language to summarize what you're trying to say with that body paragraph. In the conclusion, the first thing that you always do is restate the thesis statement using different words. A lot of people like to do that using 2 sentences, so you can do it in 2 sentences if you want to. And because, again, I like every paragraph to have at least 3 sentences, to finish the essay, you can give another hook. So that's an introduction to the SAT essay. To read more in detail, including an example prompt and example essay, please visit my website. I include a link to that information in the description. The prompt that I wrote is unlike any prompt you will see on the SAT, and the essay that I wrote is about 10 times longer than anything you will have time to write on the exam, but I just wanted to give you examples of everything that you can do. And for a private lesson with me, please also visit my website. That information too is in the description. I've worked online with people from all over the world, and I'd love to work with you. Take care.